Welcome. Tonight, we step into the world of Lunaris, a quiet land where something ancient is beginning to awaken. Long ago, alchemy was part of everyday life, but that knowledge has been lost, and with it, the understanding of what once threatened this world. Now, a strange mist is returning. It moves slowly, silently, and those who touch it begin to turn to stone. In this story, we follow Elira, a girl from a small village at the edge of the world, as her life begins to change on the very first night the mist arrives. This is a calm, immersive, dark fantasy story, perfect for relaxing, focusing, or drifting off to sleep. So settle in and let the story begin. There was a time when alchemy was not a secret, nor a forgotten art whispered in fear. It was life itself. In the world of Lunaris, every household understood its principles. It was woven into daily life, into healing, into farming, into craft. People did not fear it. They relied on it. But knowledge, when pushed beyond its limits, does not remain harmless. No one remembers his true name anymore. History only calls him the Veiled Alchemist. Once he was a man of brilliance, a scholar admired across cities, a mind that saw patterns where others saw chaos. But admiration was not enough for him. Understanding was not enough. He wanted control. He believed the world was incomplete, that something vast and hidden lay beneath its surface, something that could be harnessed. So he began to write. Days turned to weeks, weeks to years. And from that obsession came a creation no one should have made. The Book of Mist. At first, nothing changed. Then, in a distant valley, a pale fog appeared. It drifted slowly across the land, silent and thin, almost beautiful beneath the moonlight. People approached it without fear. A shepherd was the first to fall. On the first day, he felt only cold. On the second, his movements slowed, his voice weakened. By the third morning, he stood frozen in place. Stone. Not dead, not alive, something in between. The mist spread. Villagers became fields of statues. People caught mid-step, mid-word, mid-breath. Some reached out as if calling for help. Others stood as if unaware of what was happening. Families abandoned homes, roads emptied. Panic consumed the world. And within the mist, shapes moved, not human, not entirely. In that age of fear, one man rose, Valerion. He was not chosen by fate, nor gifted with extraordinary power. But he understood something others did not. The mist was not natural. It was a corruption, and the Veiled Alchemist was no longer just a man. Arkan believed he had become bound to the mist itself. To stop him, Arkan sought 5 relic-sentient creations from the earliest days of alchemy. A blade that could sever unseen bonds, a ring that shielded the soul, a vial containing pure essence, a cloak that bent presence and perception, and a lantern, the lantern of moon. It did not shine like ordinary light. It revealed what was hidden. Arkan traveled across a broken world to find them. He crossed lands where statues stood like forests. He passed through ruins swallowed by silence. He watched the mist from afar, studying it, learning its rhythm. He knew one truth. If he failed, there would be nothing left to save. No one knows what happened when Archon finally faced the veiled alchemist. Only fragments remain, a sky that darkened for days. A storm of pale fog rising like a living tide, light cutting through it, and then silence. When it was over, the mist vanished. The world was still, and Archon Valerion was gone. The 5 relics were scattered across the world, lost, hidden, waiting. Only one returned home, the Lantern of Moon. It was brought back to the village where Archon had been born, Valerion. 1,000 years passed. Time erased what fear could not. Alchemy faded into myth. Books were lost, knowledge forgotten. Stories turned into quiet warnings told to children who no longer believed them. The world moved on, but not everything was gone. At the edge of the known world stood the village of Valerion. It was small and quiet, surrounded by wide open fields that stretched toward a distant forest. The land was fertile, the air clean, and life simple. The people worked hard. They grew their own food, repaired their own tools, and relied mostly on one another. Help from the capital city, Elira, was rare. Supplies arrived late. Roads remained broken. News, when it came at all, was often outdated. To the capital, Valerion was insignificant. But to its people, it was everything. Elira had lived there her entire life. She woke before sunrise each day, the sky still painted in soft shades of blue and gray. The air was always cool in the early morning, carrying the scent of soil and distant trees. Her long, dark brown hair was usually tied loosely, though strands often escaped as she worked. Her light blue eyes were observant, always scanning her surroundings, not out of fear but curiosity. She wore a simple patched dress and worn shoes, practical for farm work. Nothing about her appearance stood out, yet there was a quiet determination in the way she moved. Her family's farm was one of the largest near Valerion. There was always work to be done, feeding animals, repairing fences, harvesting crops. It was a life of routine, and yet Elira often found herself pausing, looking toward the horizon, as if something waited beyond it. That morning began like any other. Teren was already in the fields when she arrived. "You're late," he called out with a grin. "You're early," she replied. He laughed, brushing dirt from his hands. Teren had worked on neighboring land for years. He was a little older than Elira, always quick with a joke, always restless. One day he said, "I'm leaving this place. There's more out there than fields and fences." Elira smiled faintly. "You say that every week, and one day I'll mean it." She didn't answer, but she understood. The first sign something was wrong came later that day. The animals were uneasy. Horses shifted nervously. Chickens scattered at the smallest sounds. Even the wind felt different. That evening, Elira's father returned from the far edge of the fields, his expression unusually tense. "There's fog in the valley," he said. "Fog?" Elira asked. "Too thick for this time of year." He tried to dismiss it. "It'll pass." but his voice lacked certainty. The next morning, the mist remained, and it had moved closer. Villagers began to notice. Some dismissed it as weather. Others whispered quietly among themselves. By the third day, no one ignored it anymore. Tern was the first. He had gone near the edge of the fields, too close to the mist, when they found him. He was on the ground, barely conscious. Elira ran to his side. "Tern, can you hear me?" His skin was cold, unnaturally cold. They carried him back to the village. By morning, faint grey lines traced across his arm, like stone beneath the surface. Elira felt a tightness in her chest. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The village fell into fear. The elders argued. Some demanded they leave, others insisted it would pass. No one knew what this was, but Elira couldn't shake the feeling that it was something old, something the world had forgotten. That night, sleep would not come. The air was heavy, silent. Elira stepped outside. The village lay still under the faint light of the moon, and beyond the fields, the mist had come closer. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if it knew where it was going. She didn't think, she just walked. Toward the edge of the village, toward the old abandoned building no one used anymore. Something pulled her there, a quiet, insistent feeling. The door creaked as she pushed it open. Dust filled the air. Shadows stretched across the room. Everything was forgotten. Everything except one object. A lantern. Resting at the center, untouched, Elira stepped closer. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached out. The moment her fingers brushed its surface, it lit, a soft, pale glow, unlike any light she had ever seen. Outside, the mist shifted. For a brief moment, it recoiled. Elira's breath caught. Her heart pounded. She didn't understand what this meant, but she knew one thing. This was not just a lantern, and whatever was coming for Valerion, it had already begun.